Did you know the number one fear that most small business owners have is networking? When small business owners hear the word networking, the negative connotations that come to their mind includes, you know what, I'm an introvert. I don't like coming out of my comfort zone. The thought of networking just makes me feel like gagging. Why do I have to network? My skills can sell themselves. I don't like having small talk with people. The fact that I have to pretend that I'm having a conversation with someone when we all know all I want is a business. The thought of it just makes me want to think of all networking events as a sham and a failure. And these are so many ideas and thoughts that when you think about networking, they come to mind. And I have been one of them. And when I got this book, the Make Your Contacts Count by Ann Barber and Lynn Waymon, I just felt like I was in heaven. The reason I got this book is because I personally also have that fear of networking. And the reason is because I'm always like, I don't like small talk, I'm an introvert. Why do I have to pay for an event to get a business? And the thoughts and the lists are endless. So, in my mind, or in many people's minds, we've created this monster in our minds that is so scary. And I always say that when you feel fear in your heart, the way to conquer it is to just get knowledge and information about it. And the lessons that I learned from this book are so numerous. But today I just wanted to share 3 lessons that for you to make networking a success so that it can benefit you, your business, if you're in career, if you're looking for opportunities for growth, then using these lessons will actually be to your benefit. And the first lesson I really learned that I know has been Achilles' heel for me is learning people's names. And she was giving us tips in this book of if you want to be great at networking, then you have to overcome the phobia of learning people's names. And the one trick that I learned from this book, there were so many numerous, is when in networking event, the one thing that you have to do is introduce one to each other. So when you go into an event and the most automatic response is when someone tells you, my name is Mawia, the automatic response will be, and my name is Joanna. And then you wonder 5 minutes later, what did they say their names were? Was it I knew it was a J? Was it a Joanna? Was it a Jim? Was it? And then you end up being scared because you don't want to talk to someone again and you don't remember their name. So they were saying, you know what, when someone introduces you to themselves, let's say they say, my name is Rose, instead of automatically responding with your name that your name is Mawia, take time. Oh, hi Rose. It's a pleasure to meet you, Rose. I really love your name. It just reminds me of my mother's favorite garden and flowers and how every morning. And when you are actually taking time to state something about that name, it gives you the opportunity for you to impress that name on your mind, and so you've created a mental picture that is associated with this person, and that makes you have a method and a way of remembering people's name. Because one thing in networking or in business is people love hearing their names. Everyone likes knowing that, hi, yeah, that person after 5 years, after 2 years, after 1 month can still remember my name, especially if your name is difficult. So having a tendency of learning to know people's name, and it's not only learning other people's name, also making your name memorable. You have to make it so easy for other people to remember your name. So rather than just saying, you know what, when someone tells you my name is Rose and you responding my name is Mawia, take time. They say my name is Mawia. Pause, Mawia Gichuhi. So that pause enables you to give that other person a time to also imprint their name into their subconscious. So it's a two-way thing. It's not just about learning other people's name. It's also about making your name memorable. The second lesson I learned about networking is so many reasons why we go for networking events and we wonder, that was such a waste of my money. I didn't even get the reason why. I don't even understand why I attend these events over and over and over again. And one of the reasons, the main reasons why you always end up feeling like these networking events are a sham is because we as individuals, have we set goals for these networking events? Do you have an agenda when you go for this networking event? Do you know what you want from this event? And she was saying, when you agenda is not just creating a list of what you want, but what you want to get out of this event, but learning to create an agenda where, what are you going to give in this event? We all know givers, you know what? Everyone who gives will receive. A good measure given, pressed down together, shaken over and running over. I know we use this for just tithing, offering, but also in networking events. And when I heard this, I really laughed because people also want to receive. Everyone has gone to a networking event with the agenda of getting. And how beautiful it is when you meet someone and you can be able to give them, as they are speaking, as you're engaging with them, and you hear a need that they have, you can reciprocate, you can actually give. And when people receive, there's actually this principle that I was saying in the book called the reciprocity principle. Forgive my mother tongue interference. It says when people learn to receive, and they receive, it's natural for them to want to give you back, because they'll be like, you know what, Mawia is such a giver. She gave me this contact, she gave me this lead, she gave me this information that has enabled my business to grow. Then naturally they want to give back to you, and that makes that exchange of always being. And the more now you're giving, you're so excited for this networking event, because it may not bear fruit that day, it may not bear fruit 1 month, it may not bear fruit within that year, but down the line, as you're constantly known and associated in your mind as not just a taker, but more so of a giver, then now your networking events, your networking clubs, areas where you network, they always know that, you know what, Mawia is a giver, Mawia is resourceful, and as they receive, they will naturally want to give back to you. The third lesson I learned is, in most networking events, the most common question will be, of course, your name, and then the most dreaded question is, what do you do? And you know, it's so funny how when you're asked the question of what do you do, we always say our titles. Maybe you say, I work at Coca-Cola. You say, you mention, I'm the senior vice president. And when you say these things like titles, names, I'm an accountant, or I'm a dentist, I'm a doctor, the roles, they don't enable further interaction in the networking process. So she was just teaching us we are being taught in the book by Anne and Lynn how you should have, rather than giving your names, your titles, your roles, is having something enthusiastic that describes your character, competence, and something you recently achieved. So rather than just saying, I'm a doctor, say, you know what, we were able to save 10 women's life by experimenting on this new procedure. And then that stirs up a conversation where someone will be like, really, how did that happen? How did the research go? And on and on and on. There are conversation. So it's like you're creating a conversation flow in your networking. But when you just go into a networking event and tell someone, I'm a doctor, okay, the next person is like, okay, what do you do? It becomes stale. So you as an individual always have to have a script, or an exciting way to describe what you do, which is mostly focused on your competence, on your character, on your achievements, rather than on your titles, the organization you work, because it just creates a conversation stopper. And in networking events, you really, really want to go in deep on or knowing someone broadly, or knowing the achievements that they are doing. And then when someone sees you as competent, as a person of character, someone who's trusted, then they can see that they can trust you with their business, they can trust you with the opportunities that they can bring your way. So it becomes, you are actually, it's like you're creating a CV that's just not your title, but more so of your achievements and so much more. And that's what I really liked about this book, that if you want to succeed, if you want your business to flourish, there's no getting around the fact that you have to network. You have to make use of your contacts. And so many of us might not have large social media following. We may not have an uncle in State House. But one thing we all have that is in common is that we have contacts. We have contacts in our email. We have contacts on our phone. We have contacts in our family, our association, and it's looking at these groups, whether it's church based, whether it's your networking events that you actually pay, golf. You can sit down, review all the list of all the groups that you are in, and determine, how am I going to be of a benefit to these groups, and what do I expect from this group, so that every year you're not just paying for membership fees that are actually not bearing fruit, but you as an individual has sat down, determined your networking goals. Maybe you might only need 3 groups this year rather than 15 groups, and determining that in these 3 groups I'm going to learn 3 people's names in every meeting, and ensure that I have techniques that can enable them to impress my name also in their minds, and their names on mine, and ensure that I can have conversation starters that move forward and enable the other person to enjoy having a conversation with me, and having my business more memorable in their minds. And yes, so go forward this year based on the lessons that we've learned, and get this book. It was really, really powerful. I will really have to read this book more than twice, and every time I'm going for a networking event, to reflect on the lessons so that I can keep on perfecting. I think the greatest lesson and the greatest take home for me was that networking is a skill that we can learn. It's not just for the extroverts out there, but it's a skill. If you put it to practice each and every time, it will bear fruit for you and enable you to succeed in all your business ventures.